Uppity Unicorn here. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. What time is it? I have my cell phone in the other room. Anyhow, if you could go on ahead and like the video. I'm here with a topic today that maybe, I know people won't feel like I should be able to talk about this just because I've got ovaries, but I know what I know, so I'm just going to let this out. And this topic is about why manhood is not innate. So I'm going to discuss some things about manhood and then discuss why it is not innate. People are not born with manhood. You can miss the process of becoming a man and end up an adult boy or just a grown-ass male. It is possible, right? It is possible. So I'll start with this. What makes a man is being there for his people, his family, his friends, his community, offering loyalty and support, being a good friend to both men and women. Having a sense of perspective on life is it's really important. Now you have people who want to call themselves men, but they either don't want to, have no discipline to, or incapable of, or are incapable of being there for family, friends, community, right? They're either unwilling or incapable. So when I say being there for people, if English is your first language, I don't feel that I should have to break that down. These are the things that constitute a man, as in a person who has reached manhood. This is a different conversation from masculinity. It's a different conversation because some people are born with masculinity. With the way that we define masculinity, some people are born with it, men and women. You heard me correctly. Men and women can be born with, masculinity, even though so much of masculinity is a social construct, right? It comes from somewhere. It does, right? Sometimes you'll see a tough little girl and you'll call her a tomboy because she's into the things that, the boys are into. She's into that which, involves strength, courage, assertiveness, right? And so we call her a tomboy because of that, because, a girl or a child with femininity should be in the corner, playing with a tea set and stuffed animals. Like there are some boys, even at the age of 3 years old, who would rather play, dress up in mommy's clothes, makeup, and have tea parties with motherboard Sunday church hats, right? Everybody has a share of both femininity and masculinity in their body, and some people are more of one than the other. But manhood is something different. You're not born with this. So Western society is traditionally viewed as, they traditionally view masculine traits like earlier, strength, courage, independence, leadership, assertiveness. So women, like now, it's so funny. We sing all these songs about independent women, the Neo song, she's independent, that's why I love her. When in reality, this man made a bop. He's an artist, but he's not very masculine. So yeah, he's going to write that song, even though most men want a woman who depends on them. They want you to be able to be independent, like in the event that they are gone. In the event that, they die and they can't carry on and you have their kids, sure. But none of these men really want women to be out earning them, right? Independence is more associated with masculinity and manhood than it is with femininity. Anyhow, masculinity is the quality of what your manliness is. Manhood is the quality of what your manliness is. It's the quality of your masculinity. It's the type. It's the level that you've reached. So manliness being habits that Habits that any society considers to be appropriate for a man. So all over the world, you have these people who, belong to an Islamic faith or a Christian faith or a Jewish faith. But if you look at how they define men and what they expect of men, it's all the same. From society to society, from century to century, from culture to culture, it's all pretty much the same, right? When it comes to masculinity, which is different from manhood, you've got attributes like, physical strength, rawr, He-Man, I'm tough, I can build a house, a muscular body, facial hair. When we think of facial hair, we don't think of women, even though, we get our little, if you have a little mustache or too much on the sideburns or too much on the eyebrows, we get that waxed, threaded, plucked, right? But when we think of facial hair, we think of what? Of men and their beards, men and their mustaches, right? This is where I'm going with, okay, well, that's a masculine trait and that can innately happen. Like you hit puberty and you just start growing the hair. Nobody taught you how. But manhood is taught. Men are family's connection or liaison to the world that exists outside of them, right? Outside of their immediate family environment, right? So it's like daddy is the one to tell you, daddy or husband or whoever he is, he's the one to tell you, this is where you go from here. This is how you act there. This is what you must achieve here. It's not that mom can't tell you, but you would hope, right? In terms of manhood, not masculinity, right? Because you can be a masculine 13-year-old who doesn't know what to do with themselves. But in terms of manhood, you would hope that a man can provide what? Guidance. Guidance, trustworthy, dependable guidance. Go to this school, not that school. Trust these people, not that people. Engage with this kind of woman, not that one. Trust this kind of brother, not this kind. This is why. You would hope that you have a guide in a man who has reached manhood. You can be masculine without being a guide, but you can't be a man. Or excuse me, you can't be a man of manhood. As a result, right, they offer, when men reach manhood, they're able to give you valuable life lessons, right, on how you should navigate the world outside of your immediate environment, right? So, for example, you see lots of men in business and politics, right? Ruling the world, guiding the world, blah, 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 right? There's not a whole lot of women involved in that because our biology, right, it's a little bit different. I believe aspects of femininity and masculinity can be innate. You can be born with these things, but in terms of womanhood and manhood, they're earned. They're acquired, and you don't just have them because of what's between your legs. It's the quality of person. So men who have reached manhood, they also contribute to their family's emotional, spiritual, and physical and mental well-being. So oftentimes when you hear emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, you think of women. You think of women. But men contribute to this too. Daddy, what's our religion? Daddy, what do we believe in? What's that little Psalms, as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord? Who was that talking? Who wrote the Psalms? That was a male or a female. Okay, that was David. If you're Muslim, it was Dawood, alayhi salam, right? Men who have reached manhood recognize that there are other currencies in addition to money that he has to provide. It's not just about money. Oftentimes, like my partner, he teaches me how to think. Sometimes my thoughts are just wrong. They're errant. I can't figure it out. I don't know what I'm doing. What should I invest in? How does the stock market work? Well, why? Well, how? Well, okay, now I'm crying and I'm bullied all over, YouTube. Okay, well, he's the emotional and spiritual balancer then. there's that comfort and there's that stability. So these things, you know, things that I go through on YouTube, they don't cost me what they used to, because I have a rock in my life. I have a foundation. So you can shake me, but you can't shake my foundation. So this is not just a male. This is somebody who has acquired the attributes of actual manhood. And if you guys want to know why I'm talking about this whole fresh and fit and Abba and preach and authentic alphas thing, like, I allowed this stuff to give me a headache. I normally stay out of the manosphere. I normally am just kind of like a sidelines viewer, a person who, I mean, I don't even much view from the sidelines. My sidelines consist of the channel of Aaron Fountain. My sidelines consist of freaking watching short clips from Expose the Manosphere. You know, that just kind of reinforced to me why I don't go there. But I guess what attracted me to the situation is that I understand what it's like to be lied on by a bigger content creator. I know what it's like to be dragged by something that is not true and for everybody to believe the bigger people. And so that kind of pulled at my heartstrings a bit, and I gave it some attention. But I realized their situation will begin and end the same way mine did. I mean, I watched this guy, Large, you know, bring on an eyewitness and be proven to be honest, yet and still, you know, the chat didn't want to hear it. 3,000 people didn't want to hear it. He's the small guy. He's the David, and the people he's up against, you know, they're the Goliath. And I'm just like, man, this dude just told the truth, just brought an eyewitness in to tell the truth. And you guys are still putting cap emojis all over the damn chat because it's a popularity contest. You can't win in the court of public opinion. Like, you have to go to like actual court. You have to go to a real court with a real judge, because it's public opinion stuff just kind of, it's going to lie. The verdict is going to be in favor of the person with a larger following, and there's nothing you can do about it. These fan bases, I mean, these people, I was in the Poor Man podcast chat, and I was just like, man, I would look at his videos like on his channel and I would see, oh, 96,000 views. Wow, this brother is relevant. But I'm just like, if you're relevant to these knucklehead, I can't think myself out of a wet paper bag ass people. I'm just like, yeah, I don't want those kind of fans. I don't want those kind of subscribers. I don't need those kind of super chats. You know, you're a vulnerable adult at this point. You are so intellectually inept. You qualify as a freaking vulnerable adult. Like, you need your money. Don't be super chatting anybody. Keep it for yourself. Take care of you. Save up for, you know, for a day where you're over 55 and you need to be in an assisted living environment, because, man, I'm very harsh on people who can't reason. I am not the sharpest tool in the shed. So if you can't reason where I can reason, I'm looking at you like a child. Like, I'm never going to win the genius award. And if you can't be as logical and as reasonable and think yourself out of certain situations when you're presented with certain evidence and you're still like confused and asking the same questions over and over again, I'm sorry. Like that's a lot. That would exhaust the hell out of me. Like, even just I got contact exhaustion. It wasn't even me in the hot seat, but just contact exhaustion. Like, man, this is about whether or not he's a liar. And a third party just came in and said, hey, he's truthful. That should have been the end of the discussion. But moving up the goalpost, I mean, and I have to keep in mind, some of these people are in middle school. There's a reason a lot of these people don't have pictures on their avatars. Some of these are troll accounts. These people are 12, they're 11, or, you know, there's some kind of, you know, if we could see all the people in these chat who talk at us, who make comments and things like this, I wonder how much credit we would really give it at the end of the day. Because the written word has a lot of power over people. We see a comment, it means something to us. We see an insult typed out, it means something to us. We see an article typed out, it means something to us. But if we could see the source, we'd be like, man, if you don't get your third grade, it's supposed to be in the fifth grade, but you got held back twice, ass out of my face. talking to me right now. And a lot of these are what? They're not men. They're males. Some of them are grown boys, but like manhood, no. No. Anyhow, there's more than beating up the guy next door to manhood. Like if the guy next door insults your wife, there's more to that. There's more currencies, right? It's not just protecting and providing. Or let's say it is just protecting and providing. Providing what and protecting what? Not just my physical body, right? Not just providing for my physical body, but also providing for my spiritual body, my emotional body, my mental body. And if you don't want to do that as a male, that's fine. But these are the things that consist of manhood. So you can go and be happy as a male or a grown boy, but manhood is a mantle. Like it's a blue ribbon in life. It means something. Strong male role models. These are important for boys and even other men, right? Other men need good men to be around. Association really does bring about an assimilation. And you can be a great guy. Somebody said one of the guys from Fresh and Fit was, this total huggy bear, cuddly, little kind guy. And after hanging around the likes of Myron Gaines, he became very, verbally abusive towards women. And the other men were just like, yo, this isn't you. This isn't even your character, right? So strong male role models are not just for boys. They're for other men too, right? One of the things men of manhood have is emotional maturity. They're not these angry men hollering at the top of their lungs all the time. It doesn't mean that you can't yell. It doesn't mean that you can't shout. It doesn't mean that you can't swear. But that's not you on a regular basis. That's not your normal reaction to a conversation or a disagreement. One of the biggest things a man can bring to the table is his emotional maturity. And what you see online and so many of these back and forths and so many of these fights, you see men who are just like, man, you're a 41-year-old fucking third grader, man. You're still a high school kid in your head, bro. You haven't changed since you had a mascot. This is insane. Emotional maturity isn't the same as physical maturity, because puberty happens automatically. This emotional maturity does not happen automatically. You can walk around with the feelings and outlook of an 8-year-old at 48. These things are not the same. Every culture has rules about what it takes to be a man, right? And the young boys are always kind of taught, these values, and they evolve into these men that they need to be. That's not really happening so much in African American culture anymore because there's a lack of fatherhood. So Black fathers, when they are fathers, tend to be the best fathers there are, right? I've read several articles on it, statistics, it is what it is. Black men, when they choose to be fathers, they're blue ribbon fathers. Problem is, it's not a whole lot of them. Most of these are single parent households. Most of these are woman-led, single mother, single parent. Like, that's what we're working with. A lot of these men, they want to talk about fatherless behavior in women like it's a hook, yuck, fatherless behavior. But I'm just like, you act like a schoolgirl, and you're a 40-something, you're middle-aged, and you react to everything like you wear skirts. Fatherless behavior. I mean, we like to shame people with things. I mean, you point one finger, it's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Maybe you shouldn't have made that joke. It's like, oh, she's a gold digger and she's seeking attention. Fatherless behavior. Well, if you don't feel obligated to take care of a family, fatherless behavior. You don't feel obligated to be a man. You don't feel obligated towards manhood, the things that makes a man respectable, and you can't deny it. Because when you see other men who walk and talk like this, you respect them. You respect Barack Obama. You wouldn't feel the same way about him if he looked like every other subscriber in the manosphere. You wouldn't. So stop it. You respect Steve Harvey. You respect Denzel Washington. You respect whoever. You respect Malcolm X. You do. You can sit up here and talk all kind of head about this and that and decisions he made, or him and MLK and Medgar Evers, but at the end of the day, you respect them. If you were to see them in person, you would respect them unless you're a fool. Family men, religious men, God-conscious men, community-conscious men. People who believed in supporting and sustaining more than themselves. People who enhanced and advanced their own people. That's part of the mantle of manhood. And if you don't want it, fine. But those are the people we give our respect. So if I don't respect you, or even go as far as disrespecting you, chances are it's because you have no manhood. Grown-ass men who haven't crossed the burning sands from boyhood to manhood, they don't deserve submission. They don't deserve women to wait on them hand and foot. You don't deserve any of that. That's a reward, homie. That's a reward, but you didn't win anything. You didn't climb that ladder. You didn't make it to the other side. The failure to launch, you didn't make it. I was going to talk a little bit about toxic masculinity, but I'm not even so sure if that's something that I really need to discuss. I think toxic masculinity is basically, I would sum that up in one word as machismo. Because machismo is that thing where men are like, they kind of have a disregard for consequences and responsibility, whereas, actual manhood requires being a responsible person. If you can be swayed without any logical thought, you're a target and easily led astray. That is so true. And when you wear the mantle of manhood, that's not so. When you wear the mantle of manhood, that's not so. You can't just be easily swayed. You're nobody's mark. Oh, hey, Philly kid. I wasn't looking at the chat earlier, so I didn't realize who was here and who wasn't. Philly kid says, this is why we need fathers in the house, so boys will have role models to look up to. 100% agreed. The problem is, it's looking like even if they're biological fathers who have abandoned their kids, it's almost like even if they come back, they would cause more harm than benefit. Because the fact that you abandon a child to begin with means you're a failure to launch. Like you didn't get there, you didn't make it. You saw a vulnerable person who was made in your own image. Walk like you, talk like you. Has your toes, has your fingers, has your eyes, has your nose, has your big ass head or your peanut head, and you walked away. Failure to launch. That's a blight. That's like a debit from your account of manhood. That's like overdrawing your account. Like, how are you going to pay that debt? You're going to have to go hard in the paint. You're going to have to go hard in the other direction to get there. But this is why I shared that link, that Omega Sci-Fi link, because there are men out there who do deliver manhood, right? There was a guy, he said he belonged to some kind of a Prince Hall, whatever. I don't know why let me see. Let me go here. Just one moment. I'm about to put this link in the chat. But this guy was like, well, why didn't you name other Greeks? And he got mad and started calling Omega Pearls jump offs and things. And I blocked him from my chat. And I was just like, I don't play those games. I don't play those games at all. Not about a pearl, not about an omega. Like, these are people who earned the mantle of manhood. And these are women who were good enough and fortunate enough to have men in their lives. Actual men who other brothers can call on. Right? You lose your job and you don't want your wife to look at you funny, and he spots you some cash. And I don't mean $20, He sent you a stack, 2 or 3 of them mugs. 1, because you're his friend and he loves you. You're like his brother. And 2, because he's capable. He's a guide like that. When you can be a guide like that, you can give like that. You can support like that. You can build like that. You can provide like that. Some of these people will look at somebody, oh, that person gave me money. Wow, I'm so shocked. And I'm just like, ain't that your best friend? Like, that's what that person was supposed to do. Well, don't nobody owe you nothing and blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, there's a definition of friend. There's a definition of brotherhood. There's a definition of manhood. So I would expect those things from somebody who gives himself that title in your life. So I dropped this link. And also there are Omega Sci-Fi mentoring programs. Let me pull some of these up. So, I mean, if you're a mother of a son, you've got boys like Koji Malik, and you need somewhere to put them, here we are. And even if you are a dad, even if you are a dad, you want to put your son around as many men as possible, around as many men who carry the mantle of manhood as possible, so that he knows what's expected of him as a man. There are so many men out here, in and outside of the manosphere, middle-aged, 40-something, damn it, 50-something, and they're like high school kids. Like high school kids. They don't know what to do with themselves. It's not just a shame that you're living in your mother's basement, because honestly, if you were taking care of everything there, it wouldn't be shameful. If you were paying all the bills and in reality taking care of your mom, it wouldn't be shameful. The shame isn't in living with your mom, it's in living off of your mom. It's in being a parasitic ass middle-aged grown man. You got armpit hair, you got a beard, you got a mustache, you got funk, you got balls, you got like, no. And they don't care, and they're just out here. A bunch of kids that they don't know, that they're not involved with, that they don't talk to. I agree with you, Arniba Advanced. We need a cultural reset. I don't know what it's going to take. I think it's going to take the women de-incentivizing. Hear me out, because a lot of us women, we have contributed to the failure of men by coddling them, right? Because we mommy grown ass men. When you're a grown woman in a relationship with a grown man, but he moved in with you and he drives your car and XYZ, like you have coddled him. You've proven to him that you don't have high expectations of him because you didn't expect him to perform. Our private parts are made in a way that instills direction. He's supposed to give. You're supposed to receive. It's supposed to be like that. Because in reality, you're the greater giver, because then you'll end up having children. And you give your life, your beauty, your time. Like, that's how you die. The death of most loving mothers is literally their children. Like, what you love, think about it. What you love will take you out of this world. It could be ice cream. You love Baskin and Robbins, and then you end up with some kind of a heart disease because you eat that stuff every day. What you love is what's going to take you out of this world. Mothers die for their children. She's in that way, she's got a greater sacrifice, so she needs more. She must be given more. And that's another thing. Real men value motherhood. So when you have all these men who are crapping on moms, whether they're single moms or baby mamas, and they have no gratitude for the position of motherhood, like that should let you know that you're not really dealing with a man. You're dealing with a child. Children act like this. Children don't get what it takes to be a mom. You're a grown man and you didn't see that lady push that kid out and almost die? Arrested development, developmentally delayed, whatever you want to call it. We keep allowing ourselves to be with men who don't have what it takes. Now, when it comes to divested women and whether that is racialized or not, I would just say divest from men who have no manhood. Forget a race. I don't, because, Dusty comes in all colors. It really does. And technically, there's more white men than African American men. So in a very technical sense, there's more white dust than black dust out here. Divest from dust. Divest from men who don't wear the mantle of manhood. Some of these are just grown boys. They're just grown males. That movie Baby Boy. You should never, ever, 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 ever be with a Jody. Give yourself that level of respect. I think maybe as Black women, and here's the deal, because a lot of us have raised our standards and we're in a battle on social media where people are saying our standards are too high. Keep them high. Keep them high, please. Because what's crazy about lowering your standards, trying to be all friendly and make things easy on a guy that you like, he won't appreciate it. He's not wired to. Chances are it's not in his nature to appreciate that. You're going to be the one to get called a name and a jump off and a this and a that. I think we can leave it off here. Philly kid, protect your womb. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about birth control or just keeping your legs closed altogether, but some people, they're not worth it. They're not worth sharing your body with. They're not worth having a connection to. And you see it in the beginning. You see it in the beginning. You see the warning signs. You see the red flags. You think that you're supposed to bypass it because we come from a culture that tells us to give men a chance. But you're not supposed to. You're supposed to see that chink in his armor and walk away. But that comes only from us valuing ourselves more. Anyhow, I'm wrapping it up. If you just got here, this was a very quick half-hour live stream about why manhood is not innate. And a lot of these people gallivanting as men are really just adult males. Manhood is something to be praised. Manhood is something admirable. It's more than just having genitalia. It's more than what is between your legs, between your navel and your knee, between your two thighs. It's more than that. A lot of times, some of these men are like, oh, well, we don't like y'all because you don't know how to treat a man. We know how to treat a man. It's just that you're not one. You're a boy. So you can get in line with the kids. It's that simple. So if you didn't catch the discussion about manhood and why it's not innate, you can definitely watch the video over again. I'm going to go ahead and end this so it's easy to watch the video because I don't want to give you guys a 3-hour video and then it's, difficult to watch. But what is going on YouTube right now? Because everybody's been talking about femininity. Everybody's been making everything, women's problem, right? And it's not that we don't need to refocus ourselves on femininity because quiet as is kept, that's what's going to get masculine men in your life who carry the mantle of manhood. is you exposing yourself as feminine, right? But like, there's a crisis of manhood, not necessarily masculinity, but there's a crisis of manhood and a dearth of it. I was on the phone with Mr. Uppity earlier today, like almost like trying not to cry, but I'm just like, bro, thanks. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate who you are, how you are, wouldn't change you. Thank you. Thank you for being you. I thank your mama. I thank your daddy, your granddaddy, your grandmama. Like, thank you. Thank you for being this. He's like a tree in like the communities he supports, the people, the employees, the family, the organizations, they're all branches. And because they belong to his tree, they all have leaves. They all have life. That's manhood.
You wanna argue? I can't argue with you.